The Iron Rose. Bangkok, February 1971. The air is thick enough to wear. Inside Lumpini Stadium, the most hallowed ground in all of Muay Thai, the heat is merciless and nobody cares. 3,000 people have packed themselves into wooden bleachers, shoulder to shoulder, sweating through their clothes. The smell of cigarette smoke, muscle liniment, and tiger balm hangs over everything like a second ceiling. This is the championship, the main event, the fight everyone came to see. Thai royalty sits in the VIP section, red silk cushions, gold trim, a respectful buffer of empty space between them and the rest of the world. Below them, the crowd is a beautiful mess. Gangsters, gamblers firing hand signals across the room, wide-eyed tourists clutching cameras, and martial artists who had traveled from every corner of Asia just to witness something they'd heard whispered about for years. And standing in the ring, directly under the brutal white lights, is the reason they all came. Nong Mai, the Iron Rose. They gave her that name because she is both things at once. Something beautiful and something that draws blood. 70 professional fights, 70 victories, not a single loss, not a draw, not even a close call that made anyone nervous. She is the undefeated female Muay Thai champion of Thailand, and her winning streak is the longest in the history of women's Muay Thai. 5 feet tall, 145 pounds, every ounce of it built for one purpose. She has demolished every opponent placed in front of her. Men, women, it made no difference. 32 of them never saw the final bell. She has broken bones, broken spirits, and broken careers. She has sent fighters to hospitals and sent their ambitions to early graves. She started this streak at 17 years old, a girl from a poor village outside Chiang Mai with nothing but hunger and talent and the willingness to suffer. Now she is 25, 8 years without defeat. In Thailand, nobody wants to fight her anymore. The line of challengers has simply run dry. But tonight is different. Tonight isn't a title defense. There's no official opponent, no rankings or sanctioning body. Tonight is something far more unusual, a demonstration. The promoters want to show Western audiences something they've long overlooked, that Thai women can fight, that Muay Thai belongs to everyone, and that female fighters deserve to be taken seriously. Nong Mai stands in the center of the ring in red silk shorts trimmed with gold. On her head sits a traditional mongkon, the sacred headband blessed by monks at her temple before the fight. Her body tells the story of 10,000 hours of training. Arms like forged iron, shoulders built to carry weight, legs like baseball bats, developed through years of kicking banana trees until the bark splits and the trunk surrenders. Her shins have been conditioned past the point of ordinary bone. They are weapons now. Scars mark her skin everywhere, each one a record of sacrifice. She begins the Y Crew, the ancient ritual dance performed before every Muay Thai bout, a moving prayer to honor her teachers, her gym, and the spirit of the art itself. 3,000 people fall silent. This part is sacred. Everyone in the building understands that. When she finishes, she rises and faces the crowd. 3,000 faces look back, some hungry for blood, some burning with curiosity, some openly skeptical. In the front row, Western journalists sit with notepads open and cameras ready. They've traveled here to answer one question. Is this woman the real thing, or is the legend of the Iron Rose just very good marketing? Nong Mai didn't give them a second thought. She had already answered that question 70 times. Tonight will be 71. The promoter climbs through the ropes,
a heavy-set man in an expensive suit that is losing its battle with the Bangkok humidity. He takes the microphone. His tie is formal. His shirt is soaked. Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, tonight we are privileged to witness something truly special. Nong Mai, our undefeated champion with 70 consecutive victories, will walk into this audience and select a volunteer. Anyone, male or female, any size, any style. She will demonstrate the supremacy of traditional Muay Thai against whatever challenge steps forward. The crowd stirs. A ripple of murmuring rolls through the bleachers. This is not normal. Champions do not fight strangers pulled from the crowd. The risk is absurd. One lucky punch from some unknown amateur, and 70 victories mean nothing. The perfect record, the legendary streak, the reputation built across 8 years, all of it gone in a single unpredictable moment. But Nong Mai had asked for this, insisted on it. She was tired of people dismissing her victories because her opponents were women, tired of the quiet insinuation that she couldn't handle a real fight, tired of the disrespect dressed up as polite conversation. Tonight, she ends that argument permanently. The promoter nodded to her. Nong Mai slipped through the ropes and dropped down to the arena floor. The crowd instinctively pulled back as she began to walk. People leaned away, eyes dropped to the floor. Nobody wanted to be chosen. Nobody wanted to become number 71. She moved slowly, deliberately through each section of the arena, not rushing, not performing, just walking and feeling and trusting whatever instinct has carried her this far. Section A, too many drunk locals, nobody interesting. Section B, tourists with cameras, here for the spectacle. Section C, mostly women and children. Section D. She slowed down. Something here. This section is different, filled with serious people, martial artists, students of the craft, who came not to be entertained, but to learn, to observe, to absorb. She could feel it. Her eyes moved across the rows, then stopped. Row 12. A small man, Asian, Chinese perhaps, simply dressed in dark clothes, sitting completely still, not drinking, not talking to his neighbors, not pulling out his camera, just watching the ring with the quiet, focused attention of someone who had been paying close attention to everything all evening. She couldn't explain it, she just knew. She raised her hand and pointed directly at him. "You, come down." The entire crowd turned. The man didn't move, didn't stand, didn't flinch. He simply sat there, calm as still water, as if she'd pointed at someone else entirely. The people around him began nudging his arm, whispering urgently, pointing. "He picked you. Get up. You have to go." The man beside him looked almost panicked. He leaned in close and whispered in English, "You don't have to do this." The chosen man gave a small, quiet shake of his head. "It's fine," he said.
The choice. This wasn't luck, this was skill, high-level skill, and Nong Mai knew it. She made a decision. If this man wanted a real test, she would give him one. She reached into her deepest arsenal and pulled out the technique that had won her 20 of her 70 fights. The jumping knee. Explosive, devastating. It closes distance in the blink of an eye and hits like a battering ram. Bruce saw it coming. He stepped off the line of attack, let the knee pass, and guided it gently with his hand, redirecting her momentum just enough to leave her landing slightly off balance. In that fraction of a second, he had 3 clear options: counterpunch, sweep her leg, strike. He did none of them. He simply reset, stepped back, and waited. Nong Mai understood now with perfect clarity what was happening. This man was showing her that he could hit her, that he could hurt her, that he could end this whenever he chose, and then deliberately choosing not to. It was mercy. It was respect. But it was also a statement of dominance, and her pride, the same pride that had carried her through 70 undefeated fights, caught fire. She went after him with everything. Full combinations, punches, kicks, elbows, knees, the full devastating language of Muay Thai, every technique that had made her a legend, every weapon that had built her streak fight by fight over 8 years. Bruce moved through all of it like smoke through an open window, slipping, drifting, redirecting, never using force to meet force, never slamming into her techniques, just guiding them away by millimeters, borrowing her own energy and turning it against her. He made it look effortless, which somehow made it even more stunning to watch. The arena had gone completely silent. 3,000 people sat motionless, struggling to process what they were seeing. They had come to watch their champion dismantle a volunteer. Instead, they were watching the volunteer make their champion look ordinary. Nobody had the context for this. Nobody had the words. At 90 seconds, Bruce decided it was time to finish. Nong Mai launched another jumping knee, fully committed, every ounce of power behind it. This time, he didn't evade. He stepped in. His left hand controlled her knee as it rose. His right hand came up in a single, clean, controlled motion and stopped 1 inch from her throat, extended, perfectly placed, perfectly still. The referee saw it immediately, blew his whistle, and stepped between them. It was over. Bruce lowered his hand, stepped back, and bowed. Nong Mai stood in the center of the ring, breathing hard, drenched in sweat, her mind racing. 90 seconds. She had thrown her best techniques, the same ones that had dropped opponents, ended careers, filled her record with 70 consecutive wins, and she had not landed a single clean strike, not one. And now this man was standing in front of her with his hand where her throat had been a moment ago. He could have ended her streak. He could have knocked her out in front of her own people, in her own arena, on international television. He had chosen not to. The stadium held its silence like a held breath. Nobody knew how to react. Their champion hadn't technically lost, but she hadn't won either. She had been outmaneuvered, out-controlled, and shown in front of 3,000 people that somewhere in the world there was someone who could beat her. The promoter climbed back into the ring, took the microphone, and stared at it for a moment like it might tell him what to say. Ladies and gentlemen, an interesting demonstration. 2 different styles, 2 different approaches. Thank you to both fighters. The applause that followed was scattered and confused. The crowd had witnessed something, they just weren't sure what to call it. Nong Mai walked across the ring toward Bruce and bowed, deep, formal, genuine. He returned it without hesitation. She spoke in Thai. The promoter leaned in and translated. She wants to know, who are you? What was that style? Where did you learn it? Bruce answered in English, and the promoter passed it across. I practice martial arts. I study many styles. I try to understand what actually works. The promoter translated her next question. She says you could have beaten her. Why didn't you? Because this is a demonstration, not a fight. I have no desire to harm her or damage what she has built. She is clearly a great champion. When those words reached her in Thai, something in Nong Mai's expression shifted, the frustration easing, replaced by something quieter and more genuine. She extended her hand, a Western handshake. Bruce took it. The crowd finally found its voice. Real applause rose through the stadium, not for a winner, not for a knockout, not for a highlight reel moment, for something rarer, for 2 fighters from completely different worlds meeting each other with honesty and respect. As Bruce climbed out of the ring and made his way back toward his seat, the whispers followed him through every row. Who is that? Where is he from? What was that style? The man who had tried to stop him earlier leaned over the moment he sat down. That was extraordinary, but you just humbled Thailand's national champion on Thai soil. We should probably leave, soon. Bruce shook his head. I didn't humiliate her. I showed her respect. There's a difference. The crowd may not see it that way.
then the crowd needs to learn how to see. They stayed for the rest of the night. Nobody approached them, nobody caused trouble, but eyes followed Bruce Lee for the remainder of the evening, quiet, watchful, trying to solve a puzzle they didn't yet have all the pieces for. The morning after. When the event ended and the crowd streamed out into the Bangkok night, a small group hung back near the exit. Young Thai fighters, students from different gyms across the city, gathered around Bruce with bowed heads and careful English. "Master, we saw everything. Can you teach us? Can you show us that style?" Bruce considered them for a moment. "I'm only in Bangkok for 3 days. I'm here for a film meeting, but tomorrow, if you want to come, I can share some principles, some ideas, not a full lesson, just a beginning." They accepted before he finished the sentence. The next morning, 20 Thai fighters showed up at a gym on the outskirts of the city. Bruce spent 4 hours with them. He showed them Wing Chun fundamentals. He walked them through the philosophy of Jeet Kune Do, the idea that style itself is a kind of cage, that what matters is not the label you train under, but whether what you do actually works, that the greatest fighters are not the most rigid, but the most adaptable. "Be water," he told them. "Don't have a fixed shape. Take the shape the situation demands." Among those 20 young men was a fighter who would go on to become one of the most respected trainers in Thai boxing history. For the next 40 years, he told this story to every student who walked into his gym. The day Bruce Lee came to Bangkok, the day he stepped into a ring he hadn't asked for, controlled a fight he never finished, and walked away, having taught everyone watching that true mastery has nothing to do with victory. It's about understanding. The iron rose, unbroken. Nong Mai never stopped fighting. She won 15 more bouts after that night, retired with 85 consecutive victories, and walked away from competition as undefeated as the day she had started. But she never forgot February 1971. Never forgot the small, quietly dressed Chinese man who had stepped through her ropes with no fanfare, no reputation, no name anyone recognized, and then moved through her best techniques like they were suggestions. Never forgot that he could have ended everything she had built right there in front of her own people and had looked at the opportunity and walked away from it. Not out of weakness, out of something much harder to find. Respect. What she taught her students. Years later, when Nong Mai hung her wraps and stepped to the other side of the gym as a trainer, she made sure every student who came through her door heard this story. She would tell them, "He was smaller than me, lighter than me. He had never spent a day training Muay Thai, but he understood fighting at a level I hadn't yet reached." She would pause, making sure they were listening. "She showed me that technique without a guiding philosophy is hollow, that physical strength without wisdom is just force, and that winning, real winning, isn't about destroying the person across from you. It's about understanding combat so completely that you never need to destroy anyone." The Western journalists who had been ringside that night filed their stories by morning. They got it wrong. They wrote about culture clash, East versus West, an undefeated champion and a mysterious volunteer. They treated it like an oddity, a curiosity, a quirky footnote to the evening's main card. They missed everything that actually mattered. But the 20 Thai fighters who showed up to that gym outside the city the following morning, they understood. They carried the real story forward, passing it through gyms and training halls across Southeast Asia for decades. The day Bruce Lee came to Bangkok, the day he stepped into a ring he hadn't asked for, controlled a fight he never finished, and walked away, having taught everyone watching that true mastery has nothing to do with victory. It's about understanding. The story that grew. In the years that followed, the tale spread.